Hello, everyone. Right, first observation is no one sent through any suggestions for theme music, which is why it's opening with me having a whinge. Anyway, I wanted theme music for this week, but we haven't sorted it out. I need you to give you some suggestions. What sort of theme music would work for the Renovation and Outdoor Living show, which, of course, you're tuned into if you're on Facebook right now. Nice to see you all. This is the Renovation and Outdoor Living show, episode 22, this Friday, June the 19th. Really good to see you all. Well, it's been quite to be honest, in New Zealand, it's been a bit of a tough week with COVID-19 sort of coming back and slapping us in the face a wee bit. So we're going to try and look at the positives. I want to start off by just going over what we talked about on Tuesday, and that was all about, well, the theme on Tuesday was sustainable design. And first of all, we spoke to Jade Hurst. Now, she was the founder and creative director of Good Space and a graduate of the International Well Build Institute in the US. Now, if you think about this makes perfect sense because she's all into wellness architecture. Okay, basically using the 6 core elements around us, earth, well, not so much earth, rather air, water, light, biophilia, which is sort of natural stuff, sound and mind. And you put them together when you're planning your interiors and exteriors, and basically you make sure that what you're building around you is catering to your own well-being, and that applies at home and at work. And it makes complete sense to me. And then we met Liv McFarlane, who she runs design studio Undercurrent. Very similar idea of interior design based around our wellness and our well-being. But the interesting thing I found with her, and this is talking about COVID, which came back this week, she told us that the COVID pandemic had really forced us to open our eyes to explore what she described as the 4 pillars of our lives. They are where we sleep, where we work, where we eat, and where we play. We no longer just want to turn up and sleep in a boring hotel without any soul or any personality. We don't want to go to a restaurant that just serves us food. We want something which offers us an experience, something which stimulates us, something which actually stimulates our well-being. We want our senses stimulated. So that was a really interesting conversation on Tuesday. So too today. Well, as I said, a bit of a rough week, the re-emergence of COVID-19 dominating our news here in New Zealand, at least for the last few days. And if you're watching from Australia or the US, I'm sure you heard about it as well. We've been praised for being this almighty country to get rid of this stuff, and then suddenly it comes back. I'm not going to go into the reasons why or wherefore, but I am going to try and lift your spirits. And the best way to do it is we're going to give stuff away. So today's all about giving stuff away. 2 prizes, and also the winner of our prize from last week, the wooden floor care package. So today's theme, renewing. All right, this is about making things look nice, making things look new, maybe, without actually having to go to the expense of replacing them. And where better to start than paint? So our first guest is Jay. Now, Jay Sharples is from Resine, okay? He trade sales rep who's been with the Kiwi Paint Company for the last 8 years. He's just become a New Zealand citizen after, well, about 14 years in the country, I believe. A little bit about Jay is he loves watching paint dry. No, he loves watching the Warriors. So it was a Resine joke. All right, Jay, I'm sorry, a bad joke. But anyway, you love watching the Warriors, and this is a lovely fact I love about you, Jay. When you're not working or shouting the Warriors on, you could be found next to the barbecue, slow-making ribs or brisket.
That's it. Yeah.
Which means we're not going to talk about paint at all. We're going to talk about barbecue techniques today. But no, it's look. Here's the reality though, and this is genuine. Day before lockdown started back in March, I went to Mitre 10 and I bought sandpaper, primer, stuff to fill holes, can't remember what it's called, and I decided I was going to do the outdoor windows of my house. Putty, maybe that's what it is. Now, I did quite a lot of prep, but I've not put a lick of paint on my windowsills or the trims, and now it's the middle of winter. So talk me through it. Have I missed the boat?
Generally, if you primed it all, you've got...
No, nothing's primed yet. The prime's sitting in the garage.
Okay. So you've just got all the... you've done the sanding, you've got the putty done, but you've done no priming or no painting. No, you haven't missed the boat. I mean, obviously, I'm in Auckland at the moment, and it's blue skies. It's a good day to be painting. There's absolutely no reason why you couldn't have been out there today. Sort of, as a rough guide, we recommend between 10 in the morning, so the sun's got a chance to come up, the windows would have a chance to dry, or the weatherboards would have a chance to sort of dry off. Like this house here's just been finished recently. It's in Greenhithe. So the painters sort of painted that just before lockdown and finished it just after lockdown. So
they left. So that was left half finished, was it, for those sort of whatever it was, 10 or 12 weeks?
It was previously painted, so areas would have got sanded back, prepped, and top coated, and then other areas would have been finished after lockdown.
So I'm told, oh, it's too late. It's the middle of winter. The paint won't dry. This is even with a nice day like today. So what is it, about 12 degrees or something outside? So just fill me in on this one. Give me a bit of an idea here. Is that true of all exterior paints? Are there specific paints for cooler climates, or what?
So water-based paints all dry down to about 10 degrees. If the temperature is going to drop below 10 degrees, generally you can't paint. However, resin do have a winter grade additive you can add into the paint so that you can then paint down to 2 degrees. There we go. So this just helps the paint dry. Otherwise, the paint doesn't dry properly and you could find it just washing off the walls.
Interesting that. So this additive, so what? So you open your pot of paint and you just pour it in and stir it in.
Yeah, there's dosing instructions on the container, and depending on what water-based paint you're using would depend how much of the additive you put in. But it just means you can be productive through the winter. You're not completely having to stop work on exteriors.
Now let's assume that I don't go and get myself organized with the additive and the temperature drops. And oh, by the way, sorry, first question, this additive, is this true of primer as well, or is primer, can we slap primer on any time?
The primer as well is down to 10 degrees, but this is really for the top coat. Obviously, a lot of times with repaints, the house is already painted. It's a case of deglossing and then spot priming any bare areas before you're going to go over the top with the top coat. Ideally, once you've got the primer on there, you've got sort of what I was going to say about 4 to 6 weeks before you have to have it. You have to have it top coated in that time. Otherwise, you'd be looking at removing the primer and starting again.
Okay. Well, the good news is, okay. Well, I'm really pleased then that I never bothered getting around to doing the primer. Which brings me to my next question, though. I mean, if I have just it and I can see it out my window, and there's the wood, I've stripped a lot of the wood back because it really needed the whole thing to be done properly. And that's been sitting there now for several weeks. How much damage can the conditions do to the wood? Should I be trying to get out there and get the primer on, or should I now say actually I'm okay to just leave it a couple of months?
I mean, if it's not got anything on there, you can potentially, the timber will get damaged by the UV. So, I mean, the UV is incredibly strong in New Zealand, so really you want to get it coated and covered and protected as soon as possible.
Damn it.
It'd be a case of just giving it a sand. I mean, Auckland, the forecast isn't great for the weekend, but next week's not great. But realistically, as soon as you've got a good day, with water-based primer, as long as it's around 18 degrees, it's touch dry in 30 minutes and recoatable after an hour or so.
Yeah. See, you're giving me the wrong information here because you're making me actually have to go out and do this now.
Yeah, exactly.
But here's the thing, Jay. The weather's going to be a bit shoddy this weekend for your brisket, for your barbecuing, which means you're going to be at a loose end. You've already told me you're in Auckland, so off air we're going to come to a little deal, okay? But on a serious note, though, give me some top tips very quickly. Helpful pointers.
Helpful pointers for painting in winter. Plan your day, but you can start early if the weather's good, but there's generally a dew point. You need to wipe down that moisture off the surface before you get started. Apart from the winter grade additive, for if the temperature's below 10 degrees, we've also got an umbrella additive that if it's looking like it might rain, you can add it into the water-based paints, and then that puts a film over the paint, so it's protected within about 10 or 15 minutes. So if you do get caught out in a light shower, the paint still stays on the surface and still dries properly. So there's not too many excuses for you not to be doing your windows.
I know, yes, sadly. That's amazing. So that umbrella additive, literally, that means if I can find, as long as I can get a 10-minute window after applying it, it's going to be safe.
Yeah, 10 to 15
Wow.
minutes in light showers, you're all good.
Awesome.
And
Jay, that's awesome. Thank you so much for giving us a bit of insight there. Thank you very much for potentially ruining my weekend as well. But Jay, we want to chat with you more on the show because given the huge amount of scope which Resine covers, there's a lot you can tell us because we've only just talked a little bit about wintertime outside. So Jay, we'll have another chat. And we might do let's do a summer show and you can do the barbecuing while we're on air. Okay, it's all coming together nicely. This way I get my brisket. That's Jay Sharples there from Resine. Good to see you.
Cheers, thank you.
Just while we're talking about Resine, Jay has organized a prize for us. Here's your first giveaway today. This is a $100 voucher. All right, a $100 voucher to Resine. And if you see, there's also that's a litre tin of M&Ms. Okay, it's full of M&Ms. You can have that as well. So it's $100 for you, and the tin of M&Ms for the kids or for whoever. Now, all you have to do is tell us how many M&Ms are in that can. If you get it exactly right, you get the $100. If you're one or two off, I get it. But no, you have to tell us how many M&Ms are in the can. And here's the interesting thing, we have no idea. So you've got to be creative with your answers, okay? And I don't care how creative you are. We're going to pick the most creative answer. So it may not necessarily be the most accurate answer. Anyway, have a go. Tell us how many M&Ms, or go and fill a 1 litre can with M&Ms and count them, and then you're bound to be in to win. Anyway, we're going to give that away fairly soon, not today, but we'll give it away probably next week or the week after. So how many M&Ms do you think could be in that can? $100 voucher plus the can with the M&Ms, and you have to take a guess and tag a friend below to go into the draw. Now, from the paint seller to the paint user. Now, North Island painter Jeannie Simpson has been named as the first ever official painter in residence from New Zealand. This is a program launched by the world-renowned colour and paint specialist Annie Sloan, and I am fascinated about this. Jeannie, we'll wait for you to pop. There you are. Jeannie, tell me, what is this program? What is this? Tell me about this Annie Sloan program and the fact that you are our first ever official painter in residence.
I know. Well, it was a pretty amazing experience, that's for sure. So Annie Sloan, she's really engaged with her painting community, and she likes to encourage painters that she sees with promise who are doing something a bit different, and basically uses her Annie Sloan social media as a platform to kind of launch these painters on a global scale. So she basically promoted my work over the course of maybe a couple of months, and I painted about 6 pieces that she showed off to her global audience.
So now, when we're talking about your work and your painting, we're not talking about portraits or still lifes. We're talking about furniture. This is incredible. How did you get into this?
I've always been quite interested in painting whatever I can, really, and I've got a couple of young kids, and when they were born, I was kind of I had a bit more time to do my own thing, really, and so I started painting when they were little, and now at school, so I've got more time to paint, which is great.
So do you go around the house just looking for projects, and when your family comes in and you've suddenly decided you're halfway through just changing a piece of, is it just furniture?
The paint can be used on loads of different things. So you can see there that's an outdoor wrought iron chair, so it can go on a whole lot of different surfaces. Wow. But people have painted using the paint. They've painted a massive array of things, from plastic planters to kitchen cabinets. But I guess my usual thing to paint is furniture. Oh, look, there we go.
Okay,
that's the bathroom.
So explain what in there has been painted.
The floor's been painted in this one, and also the outside of the bathtub and the walls too.
Wow. Well, yeah, of course the walls. That's yeah. We mustn't leave that. That was the obvious bit. So that floor's been painted on, and obviously the bath's been given a new lease of life. Very quickly, you just talked about the raw time bench outside, the plant pots. I've been talking with Jay just now about organising outdoor stuff for winter for painting. Is it the same principles about sanding and priming and then applying the paint?
Well, I guess the best thing about the paint, and the reason that Annie Sloan kind of invented it about 30 years ago, was that she wanted a paint where you didn't have to do all the priming and sanding. So you basically just put the paint straight on the piece of furniture. I've actually got a piece here, which hopefully you can see. So this is a table that my dad gave me, and you can see that it's got some watermarks. He had it outside, and then I've literally just put paint over top of it and given it a coat of wax, and there's no sanding or priming to that surface whatsoever.
Wow.
And that paint adheres to the surface, and with the wax, it's actually a really robust finish as well.
So next question was, because you've got youngsters in the house, and you've gone to all this effort to try and smarten up a piece of furniture, and they come straight in with their soft drink or whatever, and they knock it over, and then the truck goes and hits it. But so it is pretty robust, is it?
It is a robust finish with the wax. I guess with little kids, I personally prefer to use the lacquer that Annie Sloan also produces, just for a really robust, watertight finish.
Yeah.
And floors, for example, in this image here, the person has stenciled that straight onto the tiles, and that's finished with a couple of layers of lacquer to make it a really hard wearing surface.
So that's the same room. That's kitchen on the left, and those top cupboards there are what you can see in the right hand corner on the right. And so the floor is all painted, and obviously all the cupboards as well.
That's right. Yeah. And with once again with kitchen cabinets, there's no paint, no priming or sanding. Just as long as they've had a good clean, and a couple of coats of paint, and then you can either finish them with a wax or a lacquer. And
here's another great example. Look at that.
I know, it looks amazing, doesn't it?
That is, I mean, that's so realistic. It almost looks like a real rug on the floor.
I know. That's quite painters.
Hey, tell me, so what about cost though? Because I mean, obviously, you're potentially saving yourself a fortune when you're bringing new life to something like that. You talk about kitchen cabinetry. So is it a much more expensive product than maybe the house paints we think of?
The tins come in either a small, what we call a project pot, and that project pot is 120 mils, and that would be good for, say, a chair or a side table or a small project. They also come in a 1 litre container as well, and that would do, I think, what are we, 13 meters squared. So it's a decent size project. If you're doing, a full kitchen, you might be looking at maybe a couple of those. The retail price is $69 for a tin. So it's actually, for the volume.
So it's not much more.
That's right. Yeah.
Yeah. So now we had just before I diverted to start talking about what it was going to cost me, a picture came up of a distressed looking a chest of drawers. So is this showing off that's a particular type of technique?
That's right. That's what Annie would call her signature 2-color distress. So she's layered 2 colors on top of another, and then sanded it back to reveal the color underneath. I've actually this table that I've got here as well. I've actually done that. I'm not sure whether you can see that or not, but there I've just painted a green, but underneath I've painted a lighter green and just sanded it back so that you can sort of see the color coming through from underneath. And I guess it's just it's a really interesting vintage look. And in most of the furniture that people paint is secondhand. So this furniture if it looks completely new, maybe it's a little bit out of character. So it's quite nice to really embrace the vintage look and do something like that as well. And it's a really
That's clever.
easy.
So that's a 70s piece of furniture by the looks of it, but you've given it very much a sort of a 70s style with your artwork as well.
Yeah, I guess that's what I really enjoy about being a bit more artistic with my painting, and really embracing the origin of the piece as well. So
how long are you painter in residence?
So Annie has about sort of between 2 and 4 painters per year, and so it's kind of, I guess, a 3-month tenure. And while I don't actually physically go anywhere, it's it's exposure on a global scale. So I painted the pieces in my studio at home, and then since sent off the images to Annie Sloan, and she's promoted them. But also the exposure kind of internationally has been quite amazing. There's been quite a bit of international press as well, which is really quite humbling, especially when I live in a little farmer's cottage in the middle of rural New Zealand.
Isn't that cool? Isn't that cool? Hey, look, really interesting stuff, Jeannie. Thank you very much for giving us a little bit of a little bit of time this morning, this afternoon rather, because I just had no idea of the versatility of this paint, and what a great idea with the winter months coming in for people just to be able to sit down. And as you say, it's not ridiculously expensive. So if you're going to make a stuff up, you just paint over it. Is that a fair point?
That's it, and it's really easy. Anyone can do it. The Annie Sloan website has got loads of really good information. Annie Sloan herself does videos to show people how to do it. It's easy, and it's once people get going, it's quite addictive. And
we've just seen the website's just scrolling across the bottom of the screen right now. Hey, Jeannie, thank you so much for giving us some time. That's Jeannie Simpson there, who's the official painter in residence for New Zealand for Annie Sloan at the moment. Absolutely fantastic to see you. Really interesting stuff. Great hobby. Really good to see you. I imagine though probably the effects you're getting are slightly better than the ones I would. Now, we've also got some more stuff to give away. This is courtesy of Jeannie and Annie Sloan. $300 worth of Annie Sloan products. Okay, so you can take your $100 of resin and your litre of M&Ms, and you can double your bet here and go for $300 of Annie Sloan products, so that you can basically get into this upcycling, renovating of furniture idea. Awesome prize. In order to win this, you have to tell us what you would renew in your home with Annie Sloan paint. What project would you look at? And you have to tag in a friend and tell us below that you've tagged them in. Meanwhile, Keith, Karen, maybe. Is that Keith and Karen, maybe? Probably. You guys have Googled. So when I told you that you had to count the M&Ms in order to win them, you've gone and Googled it, and you think you've got the answer, and you've published it on Facebook. So you're certainly, well, you're in the draw, and you're the only people in the draw at the moment for that resin voucher and M&M. So anyone else, jump on Facebook and get in there if you want to, and then now enter the Annie Sloan competition as well. Now, on the subject of winning stuff, the winner of our wooden floor care package, this is $300 worth of stuff from the wooden floor care, the wooden floor company a couple of weeks ago when we spoke to them. And this is the sheens and the brushes and the everything you need to care for your wooden. Here you go, sprays, mops, and other stuff to care for your floor. This was $300 worth, and we asked you how many brands the wooden floor company dealt with, and the answer was 2 main brands. If you'd watched that interview, and the winner is Hazel Groundwater or Hazel Groundwater. Either way, good name. You've just won yourself $300 worth of wooden floor care product. Congratulations. Please let us know where you are. You can tell us, message us offline, or put it into Facebook. Heather's just come back saying this is her entering the Annie Sloan competition. Painted my old dark stained bookshelf using different shades of green on the back of each shelf. I like the way you think. Now, on Friday last week, we introduced the Friday top 10. And we were talking about and Eddie's just said, congratulations, Hazel, good on you, mate. And Keith, Karen, you've entered both competitions today, Keith or Karen, whoever you may be. Definitely, Sun's draws need doing. Oh, that's Stephanie. So thanks for entering that competition. Please get your entries in there, and we'll see how we go. So the top 10s. Friday last week we talked about top 10 DIY disasters. This week, or Reno disasters. Then on Tuesday we talked about top 10 bits of advice for how to get maximum resale on your property. Well, it's a little bit different today. It's nothing to do with renovation or property. It's been a tough few weeks for many of us. So what are the plans for the weekend? Well, I know what everyone's going to do this weekend because I've looked up the top 10. All you have to do is go to supermarkets. You look up the top 10 supermarket items which have been in increased demand. And supermarkets, the food and grocery council, they publish this to tell you how much the demand for one product has increased week on week. And this is since the lockdown has lifted. What have been the top 10 items people have demanded more than any other? In 10th place. In 10th place is condoms. Okay, a 6% increase in condoms since the lockdown was lifted, which made me wonder whether that's going to see other people. Anyway, yeah, of course it is. So that's your social life getting back on track. In number 9, beer. Funny enough, again, it's about your social life. It's about going out. It's about party. Number 8 in the most increased demanded products was dips. Parties again. Number 7, this broke it up a wee bit. Magazines. People wanted, and there you go. There's the Renovate magazine. So magazines were in 7th place. In 6th place, we had as the most demanded items since lockdown, canned soup. I have no idea why, but that's what you wanted. There was a 7.6% increase since lockdown in canned soup. Number 5, it's probably because it got winter, cold. It got cold. People want to eat canned soup. And number 5, well, to add to the beer, we had cider. Cider went up 7.7% in demand since lockdown. And number 4, this is the winter theme again, light bulbs. 7.9% people wanted to replace their light bulbs. Number 3, we're back to the parties again because it was wine. Wine was the 3rd most popular increase in products chosen from the supermarkets since lockdown. And number 2, it was party accessories. Yes. So I think now we've firmly established what everyone was hoping to do post-lockdown. Of course, it's wine, it's beer, it's cider, it's dips, it's well, if you're going to serve canned soup at your party, and obviously party accessories. The number 1 most popular increase in products, the number 1 most demanded product post-lockdown has been pate. Pate. Rock and roll. Now, I've either missed something, and that is that all parties have to have pate, or there's just a new trend in pate. I don't get it. We've gone from condoms, beer, cider, wine, dips, the rest of it, and now we've gone to pate. Anyway, so there's the trend. If you want to throw the party of the weekend coming up, make sure that you've got a really good slice of chicken liver for the crackers. Good to see you. We'll see you again Tuesday. Bye-bye.